His coming is followed by a coronation.
All right, we're in Revelation chapter 3, verse 11, where it says, I am coming soon. Hold on to what you have so that no one will take your crown.
You know, there have been many discussions and debates over the years related to the end times and when Jesus will return. There's no shortage of those.
There's no shortage of interpretations for sure.
No.
In the previous passage, we read that there was going to be a trial that would come on all the inhabitants of the earth. And now we see Jesus saying, I'm coming soon to you.
That's right. You know, our interpretation of Jesus coming soon immediately turns to the end times and global tribulation when Jesus returns to reign for 1,000 years.
Right. And there certainly is some insight that we can gain from a prophetic point of view here in this verse. But there must also be some sort of practical and relational connection to the current situation in the church in Philadelphia. And I think as we do that, we shouldn't immediately jump off the reservation here and think that he just all of a sudden started talking not to the church in Philadelphia here, right?
Wouldn't make any sense.
No.
They'd get lost. What's going on, right? So
Right.
the message to the Philadelphian church has been focused on their real-life events and current situation as believers, right?
So we need to consider how this verse was meant to help them in their current situation and encourage them as much as it's a prophetic message to people and believers and churches 2,000 years later. And we forget that. So it had some meaning to them in their current situation. Or why would he say something in the middle of a personal message that had nothing at all to do with them, right?
That's right. And as carnal beings, we translate Jesus saying, I'm coming soon, into a time frame that, you know, we can understand in our carnal minds.
Right. When we read the passage in modern times, we know Jesus didn't return and bring about the end of the age at the close of the first century by any means.
Didn't. And in hindsight, we would also hardly say that Jesus was coming soon if he said that 2,000 years ago. So let's take a closer look at this sentence before we move on.
Right. Jesus understands how to communicate to us, so he's not given some hidden meaning when he knows that we're in a tough situation. He's being very clear with us. You see, we need to assume that Jesus is writing to encourage and strengthen the believers in Philadelphia.
Well, Jesus knew that saying, I'm coming soon to the Philadelphian believers would have been misleading and confusing if he did not really intend to come to them during their lifetime.
Jesus' reference to coming soon here is not just about the end of the age. It's about his desire for us to know that he's going to drop everything he's doing and come to us soon because he knows what's going on with us.
Jesus is saying, I'm aware of what's happening. I care what you're going through, and I am here with you.
Jesus tells us that we shouldn't worry about our current circumstances and current troubles, and you know that the whole world is kind of worried about. We shouldn't be, and that's why he tells us prophetic things, and that's why he tells us about him coming soon with us, because he's as much worried about us in the given moment as he is about future generations who have nothing to do with the message he's given us, right?
That's right. I mean, whether we're raptured out of the tribulation or if we're kind of to remain in place and protected, Jesus makes it clear that he's willing to keep us from the hour of trial.
Right. You see, the idea of a Christian rapture of God's church is definitely an interesting one, but God tells us about his return so that we'll keep our eyes on him and not the troubles of this world, right? So he's not telling us to get all freaked out. He's telling us, calm down, I'm with you.
Right, and people can turn the message of Jesus' return around to mean that they should be like busy prepping for the hour of trial.
See, if you keep your eyes on Jesus and hold to the work at the cross, you'll be ready. There is no need for you to start prepping or getting ready for the end times because you're already ready because you're in Jesus.
Because when Jesus tells the church in Philadelphia and us to hold on to what we have, he's not talking about storing up treasure on earth and kind of retreating behind the walls of a compound or some other doomsday prepper strategy.
Right, he's talking about holding on to him and our faith in him, and that's what's important, not about how much water or food you can store up or hide or, you know, what kind of compound you can build, right? So
here's what it says in Romans chapter 2, verse 7. It says, to those who by persistence in doing good seek glory, honor, and immortality, he will give eternal life.
A crown that is given in heaven is not given because we survive the tribulation, but because we help the gospel thrive during the pre, mid, or post-trib period. So that's what's important. Anybody can, you know, crawl under a rock and hide during the tribulation and survive to some extent. But to be out there risking your life and not to shrink back from death to help the gospel thrive is what, you know, we're talking about here.
What good are you if you're hiding behind a wall and not sharing Jesus with people that are in need, that are in the darkness of this world?
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining Les and Tracy King for A Word on the Word. Visit awordontheword.tv to receive their latest audio or video broadcast. A Word on the Word is sponsored by First Century Ministry